Okay, let's just jump right in. Think about this number. $3.7 quadrillion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the annual value of securities the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, DTCC, clears and settles. Just wrap your head around that scale for a second.
It's astronomical.
Here.
And now this powerhouse, which usually operates behind the scenes, has put out a patent.
Exactly.
Hmm.
US 22500 78065A1. And it basically gives us a look at their plans for putting traditional assets onto the blockchain.
Right. But interestingly, when we think blockchain, we often think decentralization.
We do.
But DTCC's approach here, outlined in the patent, it's very much about keeping control, even in this new digital space.
That's the core of it. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how they plan to do that, tokenizing all these assets, but keeping a tight grip on the reins, essentially.
Yeah, how do they manage that balance?
We'll dig into their strategy, the patent details, and what it all means for finance generally, and maybe even for you listening. It's definitely not the typical crypto approach.
Completely.
So whether you're prepping for a meeting, just catching up on finance news, or honestly just curious, we'll try to break it down without getting lost in like super technical weeds.
Okay, but let's start with maybe the most basic question. Why should you even care about DTCC? I mean, they move trillions, but they're not exactly a household name.
That's a fair point. So who are they? Well, DTCC itself formed in 1999, merging some key clearinghouses, but it really goes back to 1973 with the DTC, the Depository Trust Company.
Right, the original goal was getting rid of paper stock certificates, wasn't it?
Precisely. Simplify transfers, kill the paperwork, and over the years, they just grew, absorbing other groups, becoming this massive streamlined engine that pretty much underpins, well, almost every major securities trade in the U.S. and has a huge global footprint, too.
And the volume is just, it's hard to overstate. You said $3.7 quadrillion annually, but daily.
Daily, it's over 100 million transactions. That's about $1.2 trillion changing hands every single day.
Every day. And they hold something like $87 trillion in securities. Across, what, 130 countries?
That's right. All the big banks, brokers, exchanges, they're all plugged into DTCC. They're the infrastructure, the plumbing, like you said.
Essential plumbing.
And because they're so crucial, they're heavily regulated. SEC, the Fed, international bodies, too. They kept the markets running during massive crises. Think Lehman Brothers, post 9/11.
Which is why they have that SAMU designation, right?
Yeah.
Systemically important financial market utility.
Exactly. It means they're too critical to fail, basically. So when an organization like that makes a big move into something like tokenization, well, everyone sits up and takes notice.
Absolutely. So, okay, we know who they are, why they matter. Let's get into this patent now. What's the core strategy here?
Right, the patent. US 200-20-000-780-65A1. The title's a mouthful. Method, apparatus, and computer-readable medium for confederated rights and hierarchical key management.
Okay, hierarchical key management sounds key. The inventor, George Daniel Doney, he's the CTO of DTCC Digital Assets.
That's him. And the assignees are DTCC Digital US and also Securrency, Inc. But the fundamental idea, it's about managing who gets to do what with tokenized assets on a blockchain, securely.
But the twist is the how, that hierarchical structure you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like a building superintendent with a master key. They have ultimate access.
Okay.
Then you have tenants, maybe maintenance staff, who get keys that only open specific doors or only work during certain hours. The root wallets are like that master key. They hold the ultimate authority.
And the delegate wallets are the restricted keys. They get specific limited permissions.
Precisely. And crucially, the root wallets can change or even completely revoke those permissions whenever needed. Central control maintained.
And they're using blockchain's features like immutability to lock this all down.
Right. The patent talks about using smart contracts to define and enforce these rights automatically. So every delegation, every permission change, it's recorded permanently on the blockchain.
Like a built-in, unchangeable audit trail.
Exactly. Plus, they mention centralized registry systems tracking all these delegations and policies. So you get this clear record, which is obviously huge for compliance and regulators.
So institutions can, like, instantly grant or revoke access, manage permissions on the fly.
That's the idea. Makes things faster, potentially reduces risk, and gives regulators a much clearer picture compared to, some of the wilder parts of DeFi.
Okay, now another really big piece of this is that they're not tying themselves to just one blockchain.
No, not at all. They explicitly state they want to be blockchain agnostic.
And the patent actually lists quite a few, doesn't it?
It does. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hedera Hashgraph, BNB Chain, Flow, Tron, Tezos, Cosmos, even Ripple's XRP ledger. It's a pretty broad list.
So are they trying to be the gatekeeper, deciding which chain is best for what, or does being agnostic just mean they can connect to anything?
It seems more like the latter. Their architecture is designed to plug into or bridge across almost any of these environments. Public, private, hybrid, whatever makes sense based on the asset, the regulations, the partners involved.
So like that analysis said, they're building a kind of middleware layer.
Yeah, a middleware layer for tokenized assets, but, and this is key, it's a layer owned and operated by the incumbents, by TradFi.
Okay, and the potential there is huge, right? You could settle tokenized stocks super fast and cheap on Hedera, maybe?
Could be. Or interact with DeFi apps on Ethereum, or bridge assets over to Cosmos using IBC, or handle payments via Ripple. It opens up a lot of possibilities, all managed through their controlled environment.
And you mentioned Hedera. Their collaboration seems, well, pretty significant.
It does. Hedera joined the Linux Foundation's Decentralized Trust, the LFDT, last September as a premier member. And importantly, DTCC joined too.
Co-members. That's telling.
Definitely suggests alignment. Hedera's tech, is known for speed, security, and this governance model that appeals to regulated industries.
So the synergy makes sense. Fast transactions, security, governance, fits what finance needs. And by working together in the LFDT, they're both shaping the standards for how blockchain gets used in finance.
Right. Making sure it fits with regulations, with how institutions actually operate.
So it all comes back to this theme. Bridging TradFi and DeFi, but keeping that central control.
Yep. They're not trying to blow up the system. They're trying to carefully upgrade it, bring it onto the blockchain, but on their terms.
Which addresses that big question for banks and regulators. How do we get the benefits of blockchain, the efficiency, the transparency, without losing control or breaking compliance rules?
And DTCC's hierarchical model seems designed specifically to answer that. It offers a way to manage risk and satisfy regulators who might be wary of pure decentralization.
Okay, and there's another piece to this puzzle. Their work with Chainlink.
Right, the Smart NAV pilot project. That was a big deal.
What did that involve exactly?
They worked with Chainlink to securely deliver mutual fund net asset value data, the NAV, onto various blockchains. And crucially, they had major players involved. JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, Franklin Templeton, State Street.
So the big names were testing this out, and they used Chainlink's CCIP, the cross-chain interoperability protocol.
That's the one. It allowed them to securely move that NAV data across different chains. And the pilot apparently showed real benefits.
Like what?
Things like standardizing how NAV data is shared, making different systems work together better, automating stuff that used to be manual, which, cuts down on operational risk, makes the market more transparent.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what are the big takeaways here, the implications?
Well, first, the crypto projects actually named in the patent, Hedera, Ripple, Cosmos, etc., plus Chainlink, through projects like Smart NAV, they seem strategically positioned. If institutions start adopting tokenization via DTCC's framework, these projects could see significant interest.
Because DTCC's model makes it easier for institutions to jump in. It handles the compliance and audit headaches.
That seems to be the value proposition, yeah. It builds confidence for these big regulated entities to actually use blockchain solutions.
And DTCC's overall vision, it's more evolution than revolution then.
Definitely seems that way. They want to enhance the existing system digitally, not replace it wholesale. The goal is a smooth transition, keeping that stability and accountability that regulators and institutions rely on, but with the benefits of digital assets.
So create a platform, maybe blockchain agnostic, maybe even quantum resistant down the line, that lets them tokenize and control huge parts of the economy.
While keeping that centralized grip on rights, custody, and transfers, that seems to be the end game.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the main point is
Yeah.
DTCC, this absolute giant of finance, is moving seriously towards tokenizing assets.
A massive shift. But they're doing it in a way that keeps central control firmly in their hands.
And this whole process, this shift, well, it's likely to affect how assets are managed, traded, regulated for years to come, whether you're deep in crypto or just interacting with traditional finance.
Absolutely. It touches everything eventually.
Which leaves us with a final thought, something for you to chew on.
Yeah.
Where is the right balance between financial innovation and control?
Will this centralized approach by DTCC actually help blockchain go mainstream in finance? Or could it end up limiting the potential of truly decentralized systems? And maybe more fundamentally, what does it mean long-term if the established players maintain this level of control, even as the technology itself changes underneath them?